Kyle called this week and asked me if I could fill in because David is not feeling up to speaking today. Lonnie is going to, and then he's had so much going on this week he couldn't. So I was kind of like the last ditch effort that Kyle could come up with. I started thinking, just a couple days to prepare, what should we talk about? Well, after a week like this week, the thing that kept coming to mind was Christians are supposed to have hope and be joyful. And sometimes that's pretty dang hard. This has not been a week where it's easy to feel joy, is it? So I thought I'd start with a little bit of a light-hearted opening. When you look at this, what do you see?
Glass half full, half full.
Hey, glass half full or glass half empty? What else do you see?
The glass is too big.
There's my friend. Jerry and I've got so much in common. He may steal the whole thing here. What else do you see?
It's clear, you can see through it.
Okay, so if I look at it, I think water again. I get so sick of drinking water. And the ice is melted. It's too warm. Is that a dog hair in here? Probably. There's dog hair all over my house. Look at our water spots. It's like I've got the worst dishwasher. It leaves water spots and it's very loud. There's people in the world like me who tend to see the negative. And I didn't start out that way. I was a young person. I was a pretty optimistic child and teen and maybe even early adult. But now I tend to very much focus on the negative. Literally, I can look at this and go straight to I've got the world's worst dishwasher because it's dirty. So I keep reminding myself as a Christian, we're supposed to be joyful and hopeful. And, if you think about it, that's probably the single biggest draw to a Christian in the world today. Because the whole world is struggling with trying to have hope and see any bright prospects in our future. So if they can see in us a hopefulness and a joy, then they're drawn to that and they want to know why. So it's something I'm always thinking about working on, have to work on. But very often I just kind of fall into that same rut of always being negative, which is very unhealthy for you. Jerry, if you would pull up the slides, and I apologize, we don't have a clicker going, and there's a lot of slides today. And a lot of them are reading. And I want you to help me with the reading, if you would, so you don't just hear me going blah, 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 and zone out. There's people, some in this room, who love to post inspirational quotes on Facebook, and you see them everywhere. It's like, I think about these people, who are they? And don't they have something better to do to come up with this sappy stuff? That's my negative side coming in. But so I went to one of the inspirational sites, some of them, and I started pulling together quotes that fit around this theme of the happy, joyful Christian. And so what I want to do is read through some of those and then we'll talk about them. So let's go, Jerry, to the first set. And this is one of the things that can bring joy to people is that the fact that there is nobody that is so bad, so broken, so sinful that God cannot redeem them. So we're going to look at some quotes. I'm going to start with Pam because she's the one who got me on this path of inspirational quotes because she posts them all the time. So if you would, Pam, I want you to read these 3 or 4 or 5 slides for me.
Nobody is too broken for the grace of Jesus. I'm a Christian. I am not perfect. I make mistakes. I mess up. But God's grace is bigger than my sins. God loves people because of who God is, not because of who we are. Philip Yancey, from What's So Amazing About Grace. If you think you've blown God's plan for your life, rest in this. You, my beautiful friend, are not that powerful. No one is so bad that they
Those are mine. Those are not beautiful quotes, let me tell you. I can't write like those people do. And that's one of the reasons I like to pull quotes. And even Ellen White, who's become one of my very favorite authors, because they can say things in a way, just a few words, but so powerful, like those slides were. Now, going through that and thinking about, can we blow it so bad that God gives up on us? We talk about it in our lesson study a lot, how we slip, we're kind of backsliding people, or we'll be on target with God and walking closely with God. Next thing you know, we've lost sight of Him again. And God's always long-suffering and patient, and He's always waiting for us. So knowing that, there's comfort in it. Knowing that no matter how far away we slide, God is not going to turn His back on us. God does not give up on us. Usually, we give up on Him. Okay, let's go to the next set of slides, Jimmy. Oh, that's mine still. Okay. One of the points that I thought about after reading those slides is the fact that we look at ourselves and where we are today, and generally we think about how we have failed, or how we have backslid, or all the things that we should be doing that we're not. And we've been talking a lot about it in the Bible study this quarter, how trying to live by the law or be justified by the law is such a hopeless situation to find yourself in. But the good thing is God sees beyond that. He sees beyond where we are today. He sees beyond the way we see ourselves to what we can become. Trying to be good enough for God to love us is an impossibility. And while it seems to be too good to be true, we have to learn to accept that He loves us because of who He is, not because of who we are. And if we can do that, then all of a sudden we can be okay with ourselves. Not okay to the point that we quit trying, but okay to the point that we don't feel like giving up. Does that make sense? Okay, now let's go to the next slide, or set of slides. This is about answered prayer. And there's probably nothing that's more comforting to the Christian than knowing that God answers your prayers. And so that and having faith that He will do that are two of our biggest tools, the biggest things we can embrace to change our lives. Jeanette, would you mind reading this series of quotes for me?
Answered prayer. If God answers your prayers, He is increasing your faith. If He delays, He is increasing your patience. If He doesn't answer, He has something better for you. Pray then to let go. Don't try and manipulate or force the outcome. Just trust God to open the right doors at the right time. Give it to God and go to sleep. Therefore I tell you, whatever you ask for in prayer, believe that you have received it, and it will be yours. Mark 11:24. Prayer is bringing your wishes and worries to God. Faith is leading them there.
Thank you. Because there's always an answer. God is never not here or answer your prayer. There's always an answer. It's yes, it's no, it's maybe later, or later, not maybe, later. Because everything has to happen in God's time. So we have to learn to not feel discouraged when we don't get the answer we're looking for, because it's rare that we ever pray without an end goal in mind, right? We usually pray for something we want, and we're looking for that answer. And so it may not be that, and you may feel discouraged, but no, you have to know that God's answer is yes or no, or later, and that when He answers it that way, He's answering it for your best good, right? You have to know that there's always in God's mind that whatever He answers is what is absolutely 100% best for you. Okay, and so when you know that, then you can become okay when you don't get that answer you were looking for, because you know beyond a doubt, without any doubt, that that was not the thing that you needed. And so there is so much anxiety that goes away when you can really embrace that.
Should we pray that the Lord does whatever's best for us?
Yeah, I think
I
always.
pray that the Lord will do whatever's best. And I pray.
We have to, and sometimes it's, I think even the things we pray about can be, very self-serving. It's a few years ago, somebody pointed out, and it's really stuck in my mind, that most of their prayers, or a lot of their prayers, are about, Lord, make me comfortable here, fix my life here. I don't want to be sad. I don't want my child to die. I don't want my best friend to die. I don't want my husband to leave me. I don't want, all these things that are going to hurt you. And we should pray about those things. But most of the time it's, Lord, fix it now because I'm hurting right now. Where God's answer may be the very best thing for you is that loss, is that grief, is that situation. And so if we can know that, and if we can have true faith in that, then there's just a whole level of stress and anxiety that goes away by knowing that. But the other thing is the thing of letting it go. And that is, I guess, probably the hardest thing for me is to pray and then just let it go. I know many of you older folks have experienced this, and I'm experiencing it a lot now. It's this thing of, Pam's talked about it so much, your kids are out at night, and you don't know where they are or what they're doing or whether they're going to get back home in time. So hard to have that prayer for God to watch over them and then go to sleep at night. Sometimes I can go to sleep and then I wake up and it's the first thing on my mind is, where are they and are they okay? You know, let it go, turn it over to God. Have faith that the answer's best, even if something terrible happens to your child. It's part of God's plan. You believe that?
Yeah.
Sometimes things happen as a result of sin, right? And it maybe is not God's plan. Things will happen, but still God will use it for good. Okay, let's go on. The second bullet there is kind of follows on the thing of not leaving it there. Sometimes we get to a point in our lives where we want something, and let's say maybe it's that next promotion that's coming at work, and it's one of the best examples I can think of, because you start thinking about it, then you begin to pray about it, and then instead of just letting it happen, you begin to try to change the situation so that it happens. You begin to focus all your attention on what can I do to get that promotion? What can I do to keep this person from getting that promotion? You know what I'm saying? You begin to manipulate people and things and events and all. And the next thing you know, that's become your whole focus in your life. And that is not a situation that leads to peace and contentment. Even if you can get the promotion down the road, because all of a sudden you've changed your whole mindset, the whole way you think about life, the whole way you approach it. And so by doing that, you set yourself up to be continually unhappy and manipulating and working the situation. There's no peace in that. And then very often we find that the very thing we did, that very thing we turned around and made happen, was the worst thing that could have happened for us. You may not see it at the time, and sometimes you might never really look at it and see it, but down the road, if you look back and analyze it, you realize that thing that you made happen set you up for months, years of unhappiness and problems and obstacles and things that got between you and God. And so learning to not do that, learning to turn it over and let God truly affect those changes in your life gives us peace of mind. We don't have to worry about it. We don't have to think about it. We don't have to plot and manipulate. I can just go to work, do the very best job I can do, and if I happen to get promoted, yay for me, that's great, but I have not spent all that time trying to change a situation that I shouldn't. Okay, next slide. I think I covered all that. Praying for faith is a big thing, because the thing is, just prayer is not effective if it's not married with faith, right? Because you have to have faith to even go to God for what you need. You've got to have faith to believe you're going to get that answer. So faith is incredibly important to the Christian who is looking for joy and peace. So let's look at these slides. And Katie Baird, would you read for me? Thank you. She's so happy to do it.
Faith is not knowing what the future holds, but knowing who holds the future. Your faith can move mountains, and your doubt can create them. Worry ends in faith, and God begins. Faith does not make grammar, Teresa. Faith
I didn't write it. I did not write it. Somebody else wrote it.
It makes them possible.
Does not make things easy.
Trust makes you believe that everything has to happen right now. Faith reassures you that everything will happen in God's timing. Faith is not about everything turning out okay. Faith is about being okay no matter how things turn out.
Okay, so this follows along what we were talking about, the fact that we know that God's plan for us is the best plan, it's the best path. So if I have prayer and I have faith, does that mean I don't have to be afraid, or I will never be afraid? Does that mean no fear if I have those two? The thing is, we can become comfortable without knowing the future. Some people get really wrapped up around, I don't know what's going to happen, I don't know what to expect, I can't anticipate what's going to happen, and they get very unhappy in that situation. But we can become comfortable not knowing what's coming when we have faith that God's plan is what will be best for us. We don't have to know what's coming because God does, or God will control that, and He will make sure it's for our best good. It's a matter of faith. It's a matter of, sorry about it, Jerry, it's a matter of accepting that God has a plan, and we don't have to know what it is. There's and I can't come up with a word, maybe you guys can, but there is a difference in a concept where we say, I know God has a plan for my life, and I know that that's the best plan. I can say that, I can think it, but there's a difference when it truly becomes a part of the way I think. Embracing was the best word I could think of, but it truly becomes not just words that we say, but becomes the way we think. So it's the acceptance of it, and truly begins to change the way we talk, the way we think, the way we see things. And that's what we're looking for here as a Christian, is to know without having to remind ourselves, oh, this terrible thing has happened. Oh yeah, I've got to remember God's got my best good in mind. But to where we just know that instinctively, we know that God has our best good. Okay, Jerry. Okay, so prayer plus faith equals instant answers. And we know that's not the case because God's timing is everything. One of the reasons, what do you think are some of the reasons why God waits to answer prayer?
May not be what we really need at the time.
Teaching us.
So we will appreciate it when it happens.
I think appreciation and what did you say, Jeanette?
Teaching us. Faith.
Teaching us what?
Faith.
Patience.
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 Teaching you that He did it, not you. There, and that was, yeah, all of these things are true, but that's another one. A lot of times our lives get out of control, so God can show us He is in control and you're not, right? And so a lot of times I think that's exactly where the timing is, what it's supposed to be, so that you don't have any possibility of assuming that you did that yourself, right? Have you ever prayed for something and then it happens and you think, I can probably handle that one myself. I really didn't. We tend to do that. We tend to think, I don't need to take that to God, I can handle it. So by waiting, drawing things out, working His timing, not only does He give us the best answer, but we know He answered and that He was in control. Okay, I'm not even really looking at my bullets, so I think we're ready to go, Jerry. So here's the other question, it's what we touched on just a minute ago, and Chris's mom shook her head no. Does God make everything happen? Does that mean prayer and faith, there's no problems? Oh, absolutely not. Our life is full of them. This is a sinful world, and it's full of disappointment and grief, okay? We can just look at Brittany's death this week, and you look at it and you say, maybe it was God's going to use that for the good of somebody, but for Brent, it's devastating to him. So yes, there are problems, but the thing that Brent can rest in is knowing that God will use that, not only for others, but for him. There was something in that for him. And so we've got to continually turn to God in the difficulties. Those difficulties can become our opportunities for growth and to turn back to God and to see how He can work in our lives, and our faith grows as we go through those. Okay. Am I always going to be okay? No matter what happens. James says no. But you do know that you will be okay eventually, right? And sometimes that being okay may be in eternity, but we are going to be okay. And that's, I think, one of our greatest fears is that no matter what's going on, am I going to be okay? Am I going to get through this? Will I have my sanity when I get through this? Will I be physically able to function by the time I get through caring for my aging parent? All these things that we face, yes, they're hard and they're difficult, but we will be okay. We have faith in that. We've got to pray for that faith that we don't have any doubt that it's working for us to grow. Okay, Jerry. Let's see. I need another reader. Robbie. There may be a big bunch of these. Sorry.
Trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge Him, and He shall direct your path. Proverbs 3:5-6. I will instruct you and teach you in the way you should go. Psalm 32:8. The Lord says, I will guide you along the best pathway for your life. I will advise you and watch over you. Psalm 32:8. I always pray for God's guidance in my life, and He always provides it. He opens the right doors, He shuts the right doors, and I have tremendous faith in Him. He just guided my career in an amazing way. Benjamin Carter. God shuts the door, stop banging on it. Trust that whatever is behind it is not meant for you. The only way God can show us He's in control is to put us in situations we can't control. Even the people who betrayed you are part of the plan. Jesus couldn't get to the cross without Judas. Sometimes God will put a Goliath in your life for you to find the David within you. When everything seems to be changing, we can rely on God's constancy. Hebrews 13:8. God's path is the best.
Thank you. Yeah, go ahead. These were just my random thoughts after going through that. Those were some very good, powerful quotes there that he just read. One of the hard ones is when it says lean on your own understanding. When do you think that you are smart about life? What age do you become really smart? Pat, what do you laughing over there?
Adolescence,
Yeah.
yeah.
It's when you think you are?
Most kids do nowadays.
I mean, you really-
Probably like 10, they think they're smart, smarter than you.
Okay, so when you begin to understand how little you really know, usually by the time you come. I think there's a time where we gain wisdom and we've learned from life and we become wiser and able to understand life better. But there are one time then you begin to realize you really don't know anything much. And it usually starts when you get married and have kids, right? Because I was so critical sometimes of parents, and I'm watching and thinking, they're doing it all wrong. That parent, don't they know how to do that thing? Oh my goodness, if I ain't pro. I'm there. Do what, John?
On the job learning.
It's one of those things as you get older, sometimes you realize how little you truly know. So when you begin to lean on your own understanding, that means trying to figure out for yourself what you need to do, which way you need to turn, what decision you need to make. And that's a hard one because there's years between this point of thinking I know a lot and realizing I know very little about what direction I should take. And relying on God. So leaning not on your understanding, sometimes that's a hard one. It takes us a while to figure that out. So here's the next thing. So God begins, let's say we turn over a decision to God and we pray about it, and He begins to point us in the right direction. So are you listening for that answer? Are you hearing Him? So sometimes we turn it over and the answers can be subtle. I like Ben Carson's quote where he said he opens this door but he closes this one. But then sometimes we stand at the door and beat on it trying to get in because that's really the door that we want to go into. So that listening can be very subtle. It's a matter of the door opening. And it's one of Patty's favorite things to throw at me occasionally is to say, if it's what God wants, it'll be easy. Now, I think most of the time that's true. Sometimes there are obstacles so we know God's in control, right? But generally, when God is pointing us in a path, it's the easier way to go. It tends to be harder when we're trying to make our own way. The next point is we have to be teachable. And honestly, who are the hardest people to teach? First, those that don't listen, right? Second, who's hard to teach? You don't want to know. Or you already think you know it all, right? You think you know everything. It's the whole thing of leaning on your own understanding. You have to be teachable. And sometimes I'm very defensive about decisions I made. I go around with Jessie this week over that, and she was basically kind of throwing it in my face, how do you feel about that decision now that you made? And so I defended it. I defended the decision, and she got very upset with me, actually cried a little bit. The next day at work, I was thinking about it, and it's like, sometimes we're not very teachable. What I did was a mistake. That decision I made was a mistake, and I need to acknowledge it. Right? Here I am. How old am I? 59? I'm 59. How long does it take to get smarter about these things? 59, and I'm still in a position of wanting to defend bad decisions I made.
You have to make them in order to realize you have to make them.
You do, but then when you make the mistake, you've got to come back and say it was wrong. And so finally the next day, I came back and I talked to her a little bit and I said, Jess, I'm going to tell you something. I shouldn't have defended that. And she was so grateful for me saying that. She said, because it made her question everything I stood for. I could give you specifics, but I don't want you all jumping on me for it too. Okay. So God does open the right doors. And a lot of times, I think I told you guys this story a while back. After I retired, I thought, well, God wants me to retire, and I'll do a lot more Bible study and a lot more teaching and volunteering and everything in my life. And I won't go back to work, and that's what God wants for me. But then I got a call, and somebody said, there's this job I think you would be really good at. Well, normally, if somebody calls me up, I take that as, this is God's work. He wants me to do this. So here's this job, won't you come interview for it? So I did. And I thought that, man, this is going to be a lot of work, a lot of time. But I prayed every night. I said, God, if they call and offer me this job, I'm going to take it. Okay? Because they call and offer it to me, I'm going to take it. And all indications were they were going to do that because they kind of, it's one of those things where they pick you out and say, come interview because they think you're a good fit. And so time goes on, I don't get the call, and eventually I get a letter that says, sorry, you've not been selected. I did not have in this case, I did not have 1 minute of regret or questioning. I thought, okay, God, I told you, if you offer it, I'm going to take it. But I didn't offer it. So it was very clear in my mind that was God's leading. I don't always do that, but in that situation, that's a part of being teachable, it's a part of listening, it's part of the doors opening and closing.
Sometimes you get called in for an interview because they want to know what you know.
You think I show them what I really do and they change their mind?
No, not that they want to pick your brain.
I think in that case there was a guy came in who was really highly qualified, and he was a better choice.
No, sometimes it's soon,
It can be.
Ain't good dogs, ain't
There's so many reasons, but regardless, I felt like that was a better decision for me, and it seems to have been. I think this last bullet is good. Don't stand at the wrong door beating on it, trying to get in. And so, to say I've gotten all wrapped up around this job that they interviewed me for and really, really wanted it, and so I could have started really pursuing that and trying to beat down that door so that I could get in there. And that is never going to work. Okay? God closes those doors where He doesn't want us to go. Okay.
Yeah, we often have to learn to trust God, and He knows which doors are the right doors and which doors are the wrong doors.
That's part of being teachable, Martin. There's times that door that's open does not look inviting, does it? You look in it and think, man, I don't want to go in that door. No, it's like, I'm going to have to do this thing and this thing and this thing. I don't want to do it. But the door's open, it's where you go, and you find out in time it's exactly where you needed to be. And the thing is, when we begin to know that and understand it, our level of stress and anxiety and worry can just go away. It can nearly go away. I don't know that we ever get rid of it because we're human. Human nature is to hang on to those worries. The other thing that stood out to me in some of those quotes is the fact that it said God's constancy. There's great comfort in knowing that God does not change. His laws do not change. His plan of salvation does not change. And even though our situations change and we do, and the way we're thinking may change, we always come back to the plan is still there. And it's the same, and we know exactly what it is, and we learn more about it. New light comes. You already promised that. New light comes, but it reinforces the light we've already had. Right? How much comfort is there in knowing that? The fact that God does not change. In a world where things change every day, God does not. There's great comfort in that. Okay, Jared. So I think that all the things we've talked about are important. Knowing that we can't be so bad that God will redeem us. Knowing that prayer is such a powerful tool. And that our faith can grow as much as we want it to. As much as we pray for it. If we pray and sincerely want our faith to grow, it'll grow beyond bounds. And so there is happiness and joy in that. Now let's talk about what is it that makes people actually happy in life and look forward to things in life. It's hope. It's hope that there's something good out there. It's hope that there's something better out there. Now it gets hard to see sometimes. You look at the week like we've had, the week that was going on in Virginia this week. It's just incredible. Wasn't it incredible? I don't want to get into the whole thing of what people were doing and why, but just the fact that they're there and they're so angry, and that they're battling each other, and that somebody literally drives their car into them. What in the world? It feels like there's no hope, right? There's no hope for this world. Joe?
The guy that drove the car into him, as a child, he was treated on drugs to keep him quiet in school. And I've heard that like 40% of the kids are treated that way. The males. The past 20 or 30 years.
So
it's all being built up.
it begins to feel hopeless. Sometimes every corner of the world seems like it's okay. Things really don't seem to change that much here, but if you branch out, you look out very much, you see situations all around the country where it seems like there is no hope. But the Christian has hope. No matter what the situation gets in. Let's say we get down to the point where there's persecution of Sabbath keepers. Can we have hope during that time? Absolutely. So let's focus about that for just a few minutes. I need a good reader. Jennifer, would you read for me these quotes?
When you say that a situation or a person is hopeless, you are slamming the door in the face of God. You may go through difficulty, hardship, or trial, but as long as you are anchored to Him, you will have hope. What God intended for you goes far beyond anything you can imagine. Never lose hope and hang on to God's hand. And so, Lord, where do I put my hope? My only hope is in you.
Okay, thank you. So, like we said, we're living in times where things feel hopeless because the problems seem insurmountable. We know the Bible tells us that the governments will crash and the countries will fall and the religious denominations will be gone. And so you think about what's going to take, what will our life have to be like for that to happen? Pretty much like it's going right now, right? Things get worse and worse, more violence, more hatred, more stress, more unhappy people. All of these are the things that lead to situations that will be so significant that these things can happen. So the problems seem insurmountable. Okay, next slide, Jerry. There's one quote that I wanted to bring out here. I'm going to miss it. I don't know about how many of you do this, because part of the hopelessness is looking at the future, but the other part is a tendency to look back on when things were really good. Jeanette, we do it, don't we?
Yes.
We look back when life was really good and everything seemed to be on track. And spiritually we were good, the family was good, life was good, and we grieve for that. We miss it, we ache for it, and we grieve for it. And you know what happens when you do that, when you become focused on that? You lose sight of the hope that's promised. Because there is nothing that was ever so good that what God's going to give you is not better. And you have to have faith in that. Can you imagine anything that God's going to offer you that wouldn't be 100 times better than that thing you missed or gave up, or the thing that you loved that's gone? So knowing that, there's some comfort in that. We know life is full of change, and just because we're aging and people die and people go away and life gets harder, that's just a part of life here on this earth, right? But knowing that, we can say that what God has in store for us is much greater than that thing that we lost. And so while it's hard to not grieve now for it, we do have that hope and we have that plan. We know that there's that great time coming, that great place coming where it will far surpass anything that we ever had before. Okay. So, in summary, putting this all together, how can we have joy and peace? Do you think it's possible? Seriously. Right now, knowing where life is, what you're facing, what this country's facing, can you, as a Christian, have joy and peace? I see a few heads nodding. I'm looking for everybody's heads to say yes or no. You think you can?
Yes.
Yes.
You personally can?
Yes.
Have you got it in you? Have you got it in you?
I know.
To grace-
I know.
Pat,
But with God's help, you can do it.
thank you for being honest. Because I see a dirty glass with dog hair and no ice. Right? It's really hard for me to be optimistic. I don't have it in me. I do not have it in me today to be joyful and peaceful and hopeful. But with the things I'm talking about here, the things that God offers us with God's help, we can be. And I don't think we can be an effective witness if we're not. Who's going to be drawn to a Jesus who can't do any more for me than walking around like Eeyore and Winnie the Pooh? Right? Okay, so let's summarize this. No matter how broken we are, no matter how far we backslide, God will not give up on us. There's only one sin that's unpardonable. What is that?
The Holy Spirit.
And that's on us, right? That's not God giving up on us. That's on us giving up on Him. We reject the Holy Spirit. Outside of that, there's nothing that we can do that God will not redeem us. Knowing that He answers every single prayer with one goal in mind, and that goal is your salvation, your good, your happiness, your being blessed here on this earth. That's always His goal. So when He gives you that answer, yes, no, or later, you can trust in that. You don't have to worry about making it happen yourself. You don't have to beat on that door to try to get in. Faith is at the basis of all of these things we're talking about. And we all have a measure of faith. We wouldn't be sitting here today if we didn't have some measure of faith, right? So if you have the measure of faith, you can grow that. You may not grow it. God can grow it for you. Let me say that differently. By us going to Him, asking for that, God, show me you working in my life so that my faith will grow. And the more it grows, the more peace we have, the more joy we have. God's promise to guide our lives. We can spend an awful lot of time stressing about what we're going to do, what I don't know, what decision I'm going to make here, what decision I'm going to make there. We pray, we have faith, and we let God open the door and close the others. Go through the open door. We don't have to be afraid. That takes away the fear and brings hope. So because of these things, we have hope in a world where hope is scarce. It's highly sought after. I think that's it. So, yeah, it goes black. All right, so I hope that there was something encouraging in that today. It helped me a little bit. It's still been a tough week all the way around. So I pray that for each of us, we find that peace, that happiness, that joy that God promises. Many places in the Bible, He promises us that, and we can claim it. Let's have prayer before we dismiss. Our Father in heaven, we thank you so much for the promises that you give us, Lord. Not only this plan of salvation, the promise that there's a better, much better situation we'll be in than anything we've ever experienced. We, Lord, also so grateful that you want us to have a life here that's joyful and that's blessed and that's prosperous. And Lord, you promise us those things if we just follow the guidance that you provided. And so, God, we ask for your help toward that end. We ask the Holy Spirit to fill us so that we can absorb these messages, so that we can share them, so we can be prepared for that wonderful place that Jesus is coming soon to take us to. We pray for these things in Jesus' name. Amen.